Hello everyone, this is a response video to SunnyV2's video, The Dumbest Attempts to Cancel Mr. Beast, specifically the first 3 minutes. This video is going to discuss transphobia, so if you're not in the mood for that, I recommend you watch something more fun instead. But if you want to stick around, I appreciate it. SunnyV2 is a channel that covers specific events pertaining to other large YouTube channels, usually something along the lines of why this YouTuber's channel died or how this YouTuber scammed their viewers. Basically, the rise and fall of well-known YouTubers, summarized in short, easily watchable and good-looking videos. That formula works out pretty well for him. His sub count approaches the 2.5 million as of writing, and his videos consistently have millions of views. Having watched a couple myself, I can see why. The videos are well edited, and it's fun to listen to some background on what happened with some YouTubers that I've heard the names of, but otherwise know very little about. I was subscribed to his channel and watching a video every day or so, until I came across this one. This is The Dumbest Attempts to Cancel Mr. Beast, a video where Sunny goes over 3 different occasions of people supposedly canceling Mr. Beast. We're only going to discuss the first occasion, which takes up 3 minutes. So if you would like to make sure I'm not misrepresenting Sunny's viewpoint, there is a link in the description, you can go watch it yourself. It's only 3 minutes, so what have you got to lose, really? Alright, welcome back. Now, let's break this all down into a factual timeline. In 2016, Mr. Beast made the attack helicopter video. In this video, his friend Chris is scrolling through a list of genders and gets angry that his gender isn't there. They proceed to read out the old "I identify as an attack helicopter" copy pasta that has been around the internet for centuries. Chris puts cardboard rotor blades on his arms and pretends to be a helicopter. Somewhere between 2016 and 2020, the video is deleted or privated. From what I can tell, there are no definitive statements from Mr. Beast or anyone else as to why. In 2020, a person on Twitter reposts the video, saying, "Mr. Beast exposed for what some fans have called a transphobic video." In the now deleted 2016 video, Mr. Beast says, "I was born a tank, but sadly it wasn't one of our 52 genders." He adds, "Is someone just sitting there and getting paid to think of genders? What are your thoughts?" Also in the replies, you can see that he wrote, "Reached out to Mr. Beast and Chris the Meme God for comment last night." And you can see screenshots of the DMs where he asked them both to comment on his observations of their content. Then 2 years later, in 2022, Sunny made his video that I just made you watch about how this person on Twitter is trying to cancel Mr. Beast. And now, you're watching my 2022 video covering all this. Now this video is going to focus on Sunny's video, not Mr. Beast's, but before we delve in, I want to make something crystal clear. I don't believe Mr. Beast should be cancelled for his 2016 video. I also don't believe Sunny should be cancelled for his video, but Sunny's video gave me some very weird vibes, to the point where I think it's worth looking at critically. What I'd like to start with is this portion of Sunny's video, where he explains why the Twitter user was overreacting.
And if we take the joke and rank it on a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being least offensive and 10 being most offensive, it probably wouldn't even hit 1 on the scale, because the only thing at the brunt of the joke is a flying metal vehicle. Yet, because they were making a joke about identifying as something other than their normal selves, some of Twitter's finest would call the video out over 4 years after it was originally posted. Mr. Beast exposed for what some fans have called a transphobic video. In a now deleted 2016 video, Mr. Beast says, "I was born a tank, but sadly it wasn't one of our 52 genders." The claim that this was distasteful was clearly ridiculous.
So Sunny's point is that Mr. Beast's video was fine because the joke is completely inoffensive. After all, the butt of the joke is a helicopter. Now I can't read Sunny's thoughts, so I don't know if this is him being ignorant or only pretending to be, but I'll take some time to spell it out here anyway. The whole attack helicopter joke is very clearly not just about someone wanting to be a helicopter. The joke about there being 53 or 62 genders out there is in Mr. Beast's video and in Sunny's video.
In a now deleted 2016 video, Mr. Beast says, "I was born a tank, but sadly it wasn't one of our 52 genders."
So I can't really give him the benefit of the doubt that he's missed it. He's just pretending it isn't there. There is a lot to say about the attack helicopter joke as it relates to gender. Not just by me, but also by people who this joke actually pokes fun at, trans people. But before I get into that, I would like to finish combing through these 3 minutes. The next portion of Sunny's video says this.
The claim that this was distasteful was clearly ridiculous, and the comments supported such.
And he proceeds to show a bunch of replies that do indeed criticize the Twitter user for trying to cancel Mr. Beast. This makes it look like the Twitter backlash against this criticism of Mr. Beast was unanimous, but if you go to the Twitter thread, it's a lot more nuanced than that. I think this is just ignorance. We were all a bit less educated in 2016. I hope and believe he has grown and evolved since then. I don't think it's anywhere near the level of Shane Dawson's many racist and inappropriate comments about children, for example. An apology is needed for sure, and I think he will offer a sincere one. At least, I hope so. It's extremely insensitive, demeaning, and disappointing. This is the residue of the edgy meme lord humor culture from 2010-2012 internet era that people like Shane Dawson cultivated audiences from. I think it would be cool of him to acknowledge it and apologize for it because he has such a large fan base and people would show growth. Thoughts? It's bad and cringy. I think people will let him off the hook because of all the money giveaways he does and have qualms about that. Trans person here. Deaf sounds offensive and transphobic. Glad he deleted the vid. It's a joke, yes, but a trans joke. From cis people, it sounds awful. A joke like this from another trans person would be hilarious. Well, this is obviously transphobic and cringy, but this was 4 years ago, so he probably is a bit more considerate person now. I think he just needs to apologize and everyone should forget about this. All these tweets are from 2020, so they were there when Sunny made his video in 2022, but he only chose to feature the ones that agree with his viewpoint. He's cherry-picking it to make it look like Twitter rightfully roasted this one person for canceling Mr. Beast, when reality is different. He also does this in the next bit.
What was even funnier was that the people who were supposed to be offended by the video weren't even offended by it. As a trans person, I found this so funny at the time and I still do. It's honestly so sad people get mad over stuff like this. It's obviously a joke. LMAO, my transgender sibling was laughing so hard at this. After reading the comments, I was glad to discover that I'm not the only trans person who thought his joke was funny.
Sunny makes a bold claim here, basically saying, these trans people said the joke was funny, so this Twitter person is overreacting. But 3 cherry-picked tweets from trans people do not represent all of trans people, so Sunny saying that the joke is completely inoffensive has nothing to back it up, other than that it's just his opinion. And from what I can tell, Sunny is not a trans person, so it's especially weird for him to tell people from a group he doesn't belong to that the joke ranks a 1 on his scale of offensiveness here. Also, if you widen your scope a little bit beyond Twitter, like I did, you can find different reactions to the same phenomenon. For example, this Quora post. So Sunny is giving a cherry-picked and deceptive summary of the reaction to Mr. Beast's video and a tweet about it. So it's strange that in the next bit he sarcastically calls what the Twitter user is doing investigative journalism, while he's misrepresenting the events that transpired.
Yet these comments didn't stop the original person who was trying to cancel Mr. Beast, who would continue with this excellent piece of investigative journalism by DMing Mr. Beast and Chris before stating, "Hi Mr. Beast, hope you're doing well. I was recently sent a video where you and your friend Chris Tyson make some seemingly transphobic remarks. Chris says he identifies as a helicopter. You make some remarks about gender. It's a video from 2016. Can you comment?"
My initial watching of Sunny's video already left a bit of a weird taste in my mouth. And after actually looking at the Twitter thread at the source of all this, and doing a bit of Googling, I found myself wondering, is it just me, or is Sunny's video transphobic? He is defending what to me seems like a transphobic joke using poor argumentation, and he is cherry-picking his sources to make his target look ridiculous. Now, I'm just a dude who's happy being a dude. In other terms, I'm a cis male. Other than the weird vibes I got, this video doesn't affect me personally. So it doesn't feel right for me to be offended on behalf of trans people, just like how Sunny doesn't have the authority to speak on behalf of trans people that the joke isn't targeted at them. I don't have the authority to speak on their behalf to say that it is. So I reached out on Twitter to ask for the opinions of specifically trans people. For the sake of their privacy, I'm going to leave them all anonymous, but in case you're watching, you know who you are, thank you for helping me out. I tried going into this without trying to push them into my point of view. I did feel like I owed them a warning about possible transphobia in the video, which is in my tweet asking for help. But besides that, basically all I did was ask, what do you think of the first 3 minutes of this video? And then ask follow-up questions based on their response. When asking follow-up questions, I was mostly looking for their opinion on the attack helicopter joke and Sunny's assessment of the situation, rather than the initial MrBeast video. So here are some of their thoughts.
Attack helicopter jokes like that are more or less inherently rooted in transphobia. Even if you're not being transphobic by using the joke, you're still, perpetuating a harmful rhetoric that still gets used on us to this day. The absurdity of the original joke deliberately insinuates that transness is make-believe, basically.
Do you think it's possible to see the joke as separate from transphobia?
Yeah, given how far these jokes spread in the early 2010s, it's very easy for people to miss the context of them and just be left to find the absurdity of someone being an attack helicopter funny.
What about right now? The Sunny video is made in 2020. Does that make a difference?
Not necessarily, but regardless, I would personally still be a bit more skeptical at a joke like that if it were more recent. The butt of the joke is the helicopter in the statement, but humor is contextual. The language in the joke is intentionally meant to evoke language used by trans people that were often punching bags, check your privilege being a common phrase uttered in the mid-10s internet by marginalized people who are trying to get people to be cognizant of their experiences and how that shaped their perspective, but it was quickly co-opted by bad faith actors. Sexually identify calls to outdated terms of gender identity and transness as a sexual identity rather than a social/expressive aspect of identity, which could just be outdated language, but given the greater context, I think it's meant to, again, call to the experiences of trans people. There's also a part of the copy pasta exempted in this video. From now on, I want you guys to call me Apache and respect my right to kill from above and kill needlessly, which is meant to invoke the unfounded fear that trans people are predators, something the community has been fighting against for years. My opinion on the attack helicopter and X amount of genders jokes is that even if someone thinks they're just joking about it, it's a joke that's rooted in transphobia. They were created to basically say, look how ridiculous it is for these people to identify as something they're not. I think the jokes are a little bit further removed from it nowadays, where being gay/trans is more acceptable, and even though I know of people who are LGBTQ that make the joke occasionally, the original intent was still to make fun of trans people.
What do you think of Sunny's 2022 assessment of the joke?
Yeah, I heavily disagree with that. The joke isn't making fun of attack helicopters, it's making fun of people identifying differently than how they were born. Saying the only thing at the front of the joke is a flying metal vehicle is extremely disingenuous. It's not the worst thing you can say to a trans person, but I would certainly be very angry if I mentioned I was trans and then someone said that they're an attack helicopter or whatever else. Everyone knows what the intended butt of the joke is for the most part.
I can go on, but you get the point. The joke is aimed at trans people, even if Sunny says it isn't, with absolutely nothing to back it up. Now, as I said earlier, I don't really mind MrBeast's original video from 2016. It was pretty easy to overlook the harm the joke could do back then. Since MrBeast removed the video from public view, I think it's fair to give him the benefit of the doubt here. I don't know if he removed it because of these issues or for other reasons, but I don't think there was a point in digging it up. And I think the Twitter person mentioned in Sunny's video going, MrBeast exposed, is too sensationalist. It would have been perfectly fair to bring it up in a more nuanced discussion about how things have changed since 2016. But to his credit, the idea of canceling MrBeast is never mentioned in that tweet. The word cancel isn't mentioned other than in the replies to the tweet by defenders of MrBeast and by Sunny himself. One quick tangent though about those defenders of MrBeast. I do think people mentioning MrBeast's philanthropy is irrelevant. Yeah, MrBeast gives away a lot of his money, but that doesn't mean he should be immune to criticism. If someone does 10 good things and one bad thing, does the bad thing just completely not matter? If I save 10 kittens from drowning and then I kick one puppy into the sun, people would still call me an animal abuser, and they'd be right. My point is, human morality is more complex than just, this person did 10 good things, so that makes the one bad thing they did okay. It's still good to criticize someone for doing a bad thing, even if they're usually doing good things. Anyway, let's wrap this up. We're done with Mr. Beast and Twitter for a moment, and we can focus on Sunny. Sunny made a video in 2022, very shoddily defending a joke that normalizes poking fun at a marginalized group. Now, if Sunny's channel was just another alt-right grifter that does this kind of thing all the time, I probably wouldn't have made this video. But Sunny's channel is more of a YouTube celebrity gossip kind of deal. He doesn't really delve into politics or anything like that. If this is transphobia, it's very casual, and if you want to give Sunny the benefit of the doubt, it could be completely accidental. Now, I don't know Sunny, and I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt that the way his video came into existence was due to ignorance, not malice. But there are two things that make me think otherwise. One of them is the way he selected tweets to feature in his video to make the response to the Twitter person look less divided and nuanced than it was. And the second is this other video on his channel called The Scumbag TikToker Who Faked Tourette's for Clout. Now, I'm not going to dive into this video deeply at all. The exact content doesn't matter. Instead, I just want to point out how Sunny addresses his subject here. Their name is Ticks and Roses, and in the thumbnail and in the video, you can see that their preferred pronouns are they, them. This cannot possibly have escaped Sunny's attention as he was researching, recording, and editing his video, and making the thumbnail. But all the way throughout, he consistently uses she.
Emerald claimed to have suffered from Tourette syndrome since the age of 6 or 7, a disorder which made her life incredibly difficult over the years, so she claimed. She was using her 500 easily promoting her yarn dyeing business. After noticing that she was faking it, her Ticks and Roses TikTok page, she's often seen ticking one in which she didn't tick of her disorder.
As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't really matter what Ticks and Roses did exactly. They could be kicking puppies for a living, but there's no reason not to use their preferred pronouns unless you have some sort of problems with using someone's preferred pronouns. None of this is proof that Sunny is actually a transphobe, but like I said, it gives me bad vibes. It's his choice to use she throughout an entire video and then put they, them in the thumbnail. Just like it's his choice to misrepresent the attack helicopter joke and its context, and it's his choice to misrepresent the reception to the video. Now, should Sunny be dragged through the mud, cancelled, run out of business? No, I don't think so. Even if it was possible to cancel someone with a following that large, which you can't, I would prefer if Sunny learned from this for the future. I really liked watching some of Sunny's videos. I love the one about Epic Mealtime because it feels more like a documentary about the ups and downs of the channel, rather than getting some enjoyment out of someone's downfall. Sunny is capable of crafting a video that's fun to watch without it being harmful or deceptive, so I hope he continues to do that. I have tried to contact Sunny privately before making this video. He doesn't interact much with his comments, so I sent an email to the only address I could find when Googling. Since I got no response, I'm assuming he doesn't check that one. So I'm hoping he sees this, or maybe some more civil but critical comments on his video, and I hope he responds in a constructive way. I think the best case scenario is he makes a follow-up video addressing this, or he at least adds a pinned comment to both videos criticized in this one. That's what I'm hoping for. Well, that's it for me today. Not my usual style of video, I know. As sad as this topic honestly is, I actually got quite a lot of enjoyment out of researching for this one. Not because anything I found was actually fun, but it's a bit more meaningful than discussing which unit goes where on a Fire Emblem tier list, or trying to decide which unit goes where when playing a Fire Emblem game. So I might do more of these if I come across the right idea for a video, but they take a while to make, so you'll have to be patient. Anyway, see ya.